Last. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. Happy February 1st. How's it going today, Michael?
It's a great day. Nice weather still out here in the great state of Arizona. And today we are going to continue onward with our venture of We Just Got Review. What do we do now? Today, our topic would be document management, but hopefully also we can go through and cover the rest of document management. After that would be studio. So studio sessions and studio projects is what we would hopefully be able to cover.
Right. So our two-part series is turned into a three-part series, and we're going to try to get it all done here. And then
maybe four-part series.
And maybe four-part series. We'll see. We've got some things we want to talk about next week that don't really apply to that. So yeah, we'll do our best to wrap it up, and then we're going to save some of those nuggets like spaces and sets and all those other things for a future topic. You know how we like to do it.
Yeah, so. For off time review topics, right? Because we're just trying to get the essential of what can we do with review, right?
Exactly. So before we get started on part 3, I got to share this cool little graphic I found.
Ooh, I was just about to share the screen.
Look at this. Yesterday, it was announced that ATG was awarded the 2021 Bluebeam Marketing Innovation winner. And this is a big thing for us here at Morning Coffee Review. It's a big thing for us at ATG. So we got to give a shout out to the ATG marketing team, as well as you guys, the community, who continue to support our stuff on LinkedIn, liking and sharing our different posts and being a part of this. This is pretty cool for us. I know we're certainly thankful for the whole community out there, as well as our ATG marketing team, DJ CJ, Beth Franks, our buddy Matt Lynn, who's joining us today, as well as Kyle Davis and so many of the other folks here at ATG that have made Morning Coffee Review and all of our marketing efforts towards Bluebeam successful.
And also the community. So that's not only do they get a round of applause, because Jason and I can't really take credit. We're just here with our faces and talking about things that we love. The community, right? So not only did we win here at ATG, pat on the back for you all, the community. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing without you out in the community. So it's also a win for you. So nice clap for you as well.
Absolutely. So I'm very, very thankful to see this come through LinkedIn yesterday, and thank you to everybody. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'll stop my share. I'm going to put you on the spot because you've got more things queued up for document management. So let's talk about document management. What does this mean? Because this is a topic, it's a subject that gets thrown around a lot. What does document management actually mean? Are we talking about file sizes? Are we talking about how I store them? We're talking about how I organize them, what folders they go in. There's a lot more to it than that.
I think it would be, all of those topics, organizing sheet sets, going through and manipulating things in documents in terms of rearranging the order, maybe slip sheeting, maybe some overlay, rotating pages. We received the document set from outside sources and their portrait and landscape mixed all together. We're just talking about all of that management portion. Really what it comes down to is what can we do in our thumbnails panel? We're not going to go into the more advanced items of talking about how to create sets. That's something we have talked about before, and we are willing to go again and talk about it. But again, at the end of any of these Morning Coffee Review series, there's a Q&A. Feel free to answer that, and we will put those in the ring for the next time we're going to talk about some new training stuff. But let's hop on in. So I usually bring open my thumbnails. I'm going to open up a larger PDF set. And let's talk about some of the items that reside in the thumbnails panel. Now, everything that you can see in the thumbnails panel will also be able to found in a different location under document. So under the document here, you do have the option to go through and select the same commands that I'm going to show you in a second are also right here. Now, if you're in the thumbnails area, it is the 4-quadrant square. And if you do not see that panel, you can always right click and say show. And from the show, you can go down to the bottom. It's Alt plus T for the hotkey on this one. Now, again, in the thumbnails panel, you can right click in the open area. You have the same document manipulation capabilities in here as well. One thing I do like to keynote in here is the markup summary report that you can quickly print out here versus having to open the summary from the markups list and then selecting the summary from here. You can always go and be in document management and right click and quickly create a markup summary report from here as well.
I've never noticed it being there.
Yes.
Look at that.
So that's always a great addition to see when you're right clicking. You can go to the thumbnails top panel as well. You have the same drop downs, right? I just prefer to right click, just old habits die hard.
Right. No doubt.
I don't like to use menus as much as possible. For those folks that I was actually seeing my eye doctor yesterday that are not as what would we call it? Eye inclined, visual inclined, people that are blind, I'll just say, there's the smaller triangle on the left-hand side, the larger triangle on the right-hand side in your bottom location down here. And what you can do, it's a drag bar. So what it allows you to do is zoom in on some of your documents. This is great if you have a large PDF set, right? You can get, it can be extremely small. You don't need to see a snippet of what's happening on your PDF sets. But if I need to actually look at all of this, I can draw this out and it gives me a better visual aspect of seeing the PDF prior. And again, with any of these panels, you can left click and hold, drag it out of the UI, and it can be on a second screen. So if you have a larger screen, for instance, I do have 24 on my left-hand side over here, and it's vertical. So mine's a larger drop down to place things, and that would be a great place to put something like this because it can drop all the way down versus just what would we call horizontal placement? It's a vertical. Okay, bring this back. Now let's cover some of these in here. And I think I've done all of them, but if there is any Easter egg in here, of course, we're always going to go through and talk about some Easter egg stuff. The first one we'll talk about is page setup. Would we agree, Jason?
Yep.
Okay. So page setup is great if you have an off-skewed scanned, which would be like a raster. And there's some other things we could do in here as well. But you can add PDFs from here as before going in. You can also select specific pages. I'm going to do all pages instead of the selected. By default, it goes through what you have selected. Then we're going to hit next. And this is the window that we're going to be talking about. So there's a couple of different things that you can do within here. So you can change the size of the PDF set. So that does happen sometimes where folks ask, can we reduce it down to an 8.5 by 11 or whatever the half size is of the sheet by the correct scale? This is how we're going to accomplish that. You can do that directly in Revu. You don't have to go file, print, and reduce the size. This is where the area that you would go through and do that to get it correct to the scale.
So you're saying that if you've got 8.5 by 11s and 11 by 17s, well, let's go 11 by 17s and 36 by 24s. You can make them, you can force them all to the same size?
Yes. So, well, you could force the ones that you selected. I wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah. So you could go from the 24 by 36 to 11 by 17, and you're just going to select 11 by 17, and that's going to change these. With keeping the scale, right? Because that's what we want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get that auto scale checked on there.
Yes. And I don't know why you'd want portrait. You would want landscape, but you can select. Now, if we're trying to rotate our pages, there's a get line. So this would allow us to go from a off-centered or a slight rotation from a scan because they didn't butt it up against that corner, right? Whatever it was, you could go and get a line, and then you could say you're going to rotate from this line however many degrees, right? So you have that ability to go through and rotate from a already designated line to a new location.
That's huge because I know that in all the scanning that I've done in my career that sometimes you're going through them and like, oh, that one was off. You didn't get it in the corner right, or somebody bumped you or whatever else. Now you can fix it without having to rescan it. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Now, the other one is crop pages, which do I need to go through and talk about cropping pages?
Might as well.
Okay. So from here, you have the ability to go through and trim. You could bleed however you want to select specific content to crop to that location. These are your options down here. You also have the ability to clear that and get a window of where you want to crop. So you have those options from here as well. Art box. I don't know what art box is.
Oh, maybe you can just draw different ways and not just a rectangle or a four-sided thing.
I don't know. I clicked it and it didn't do anything. Art box. It's probably like one of those blend things, you know, that
yeah, that's weird.
Like a stamp. It's a specific type of blend mode.
It
gives it gives it a box.
Oh,
yeah, because that wasn't there.
Okay.
So it gives it a box around where it's cropped. Matt. Now you know.
Good question. Now I know too.
All righty. Okay. So let's go back and talk about some of the other items as well. Now, right-clicking, you have set scale. This will allow you to set scale to your PDF sets. I was talking with somebody recently that the set scale in the older versions let you have a set scale just overall in review. That's one thing that doesn't transfer over from the newer version. So just be aware you have to set scale per document. It's not setting scale in review as a whole. It's per document. That is a change, but you can set scale for the entire document set if you wanted to. So you can do custom range, current, all pages if you wanted to, if they're all the same. I know for a fact these are different. And maybe if somebody wants to know about different view scales for different viewports, we can do that as well. Just ask in the chat or in the live on YouTube Live, because we are YouTube Live as well. So you can set the scale here. You do by preset, meaning what is already existing out of the box from Bluebeam in their software of review, or custom, which is picking from 2 points. This is what happens usually if you receive a PDF set that is scanned or not a known scale, but you know, or there is a known dimension. Let me reword that you want to go off of, because this first measurement will be the set dimension on the page, right? What is the actual dimension on the page size wise, and then the reality of what it actually would be built, right? Was that correctly worded, Jason?
I would say so. So Chris has a good question. If you have a scan and you don't know the scale, but you want to plot it at 1/8 inch. So this would be calibrating to figure out what known dimension you do have, and then you would use that scale document to scale it accordingly if you wanted it to print at 1/8 inch equals a foot.
Yeah.
But yes, David, I'm going to mention this 12 more times. It's always good to check. Never trust anything on here because, you know, we can find out, but we don't always know if it was created in Bluebeam. We don't know if it was created in Adobe or whatever version. So just because you see a scale bar doesn't mean you shouldn't get in there, calibrate to the scale bar, and double check everything.
And verify. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Always verify. And then if you're in the same department as good old Jason, civil, you can have a different Y. So X and Y for doing pipe networks or anything like that, you have the ability to do a separate Y scale, which is great for all of you folks on that PDF set. For me, not so much. I neglect that checkbox a lot. And then your precision. So what is your, I think we'll just do what all of these are. Yes, 3/32. Okay. So your precision of what your rounding is going to be for your measurements, I prefer just to do 1, hit apply. And now also, if you don't see them here in your thumbnails panel, the automatic measurements below, the first thing I always recommend is going to labels, which is this icon right here, hitting the drop down, and then you have labels and, page scale. So you have those options to show that there's a scale below, which this was an update, by the way, showing scale below your thumbnails, which, well, I'm not going to allude to anything until the end of this training. But okay, so from here, now we have a set scale. We can go and do all of our measurements. And if you're wanting to look at all of our measurements and what our measurements do, we have an older morning coffee review that we have done before, and you can go in and measure off on your screen. Now, if you want different viewports, which this one doesn't have, let's see, does this one have? These are both 332nd. If you wanted to do a separate viewport, there is the measurements panel, and from the measurements panel you have viewports, and this is where you'd create a secondary viewport to get two different scales on a specific page. Like if this wasn't 332nd, it was, I don't know, a quarter of an inch, you could do a viewport around it so your measurements were accurate for that specific area location on your PDF set.
That was the question that Marvin had. So you can have multiple scales on one page. Is there a limit to how many viewports you can have?
I don't know.
I don't think you.
I'll just tell you, I've never met the limit. And if you're looking at how to create these, we have a resource page, and I've done a blog on this, on how to quickly create viewports. So just a little reading. If you want us to show you, we can show you as well. We're not going to say just go to the blog, but there's a blog if you wanted to look.
Yeah.
All righty. So from here, back to the thumbnails location. Let me bring this back to here. So we had set scales. Now cut pages, which is, we all know, cut, copy, right? Just Windows standard. So you can cut pages, you can copy pages, you can copy pages to a snapshot, which would be, so if I copy this page as a snapshot, I can just place a snapshot as well. So you can then paste it if you wanted to and overlay it wherever you needed to. So that's copying it as, is it? Why is there, it's not a page. That's
just give
cool.
you the content.
It's an overlay, yeah.
Sometimes when you do a snapshot, it grabs the white background too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's an actual overlay. That's cool. Normally it's getting the background too, but it's actually its own overlay. Then you can make this into a layer and stack them on top of each other. Look at that. I learned something new today. So that is copying page to snapshot right here.
View snapshot doesn't take the background, says David. I've seen it do it before. Maybe we're losing our minds.
Maybe we are losing our marbles here, because look at, you're right.
I want to cue that, like, I can't remember his name. Craig, the comedian from The Office. But he's like, I've seen it.
Maybe you're right, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's do raster.
Snapshot includes vector data, and then it goes that route. Could
Yeah.
be. There you go.
You're right.
Raster data grabs everything. And see, Bluebeam Revu community. See, that's how this all works.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I've seen it before, but I could be wrong. I'll admit whenever I'm wrong, and I was wrong, and it was raster, which was shot out by Matt Lynn. Okay.
Ooh, but David's got a good, since we're on the snapshot thing, he's got a cool trick, changing the color of the snapshot.
Yes. So that is a good tip always. So let's say I wanted to not copy and paste this and say, hey, this is part of the set, but actually I'm just trying to indicate to the designer that this needs to be added here. And instead of it being native black and white color, which could be confused as it being part of the set, you could right click on the snapshot and do change colors. And what this is going to do is it's going to grab your content, or you know what if you were trying to make this as a markup, because snapshots can be used as a markup that you have saved in your tool chest, right? We talked about saving tool chests in part 1 or 2, one of the parts. So from the source color here, so you're grabbing whatever the source location was, right? So whatever's sourced out here. See, I think this is where I got confused, because You can grab the white background here, but it's no white background. Does that make sense? So I could grab the white background here and make it magenta.
It doesn't really find it.
Yeah. Maybe I was wrong.
But that's pretty slick because, yeah, it works out to be a great markup or red line, or, you know, now that if we get to a truly paperless workflow, I would imagine we might see more colors in our plans and not just pure black anymore.
I think if we get truly to a paperless workflow, we don't need to have individual sheets. We can just have a supersized sheet and everything is on that one sheet. Right. Because why have individual sheets that we have to scroll through when we can just have a larger sheets that we just have locations, like a detail, right? Would be a plan area location on the sheet set.
Definitely possible.
Ideas.
Paperless pioneers.
We're still stuck in this paperless. Well, we're in this paperless workflow using same paper standards, like individual sheets.
36 by 24.
Yeah.
Is that would be a social construct?
Yeah, it's because of what can be printed out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're in this new workflow. Yeah.
PC load letter. Anyway, I won't finish that. Yeah, it's hard to get the guys on the shop floor to use monitors. I get it. I mean, there is something satisfying with the tactile interaction with paper, but time's coming.
Yep. Time is catching up to paper. Alrighty, so back to here. Let's go and back to thumbnails. Okay, because rabbit hole. Okay. Next one is applying a stamp. So I like this version of applying a stamp versus placing the stamp and just saying all pages, but it's limited to the anchor, location here, meaning it's only going to be placed in these locations that you're selecting in here. But what we have the ability to do is add not just one file, multiple files directly into this window here, location. And then we can go through and add any other files, like I've just said. Remove, it can be specific. Now, this was a new addition too. If we ever remember, for folks that have used Revu before, there wasn't a lot of these different selections of where we can place things, copy, move. These are always being added. Like, I didn't even know first and last. This is new. The other ones I've seen before, but always being updated and being selection pick points for when we're pasting or grabbing things. And then we can save this selection if we've ever done this before. We're going to apply an approved stamp. Where are we going to apply the approved stamp? What's the mode? By the way, we've done this before in another morning coffee review series where we've covered all of these individual ones because there's a lot. And Jason and myself had no idea about all of their capabilities. And then we were enlightened. So go enlighten yourself. And always, whenever you're watching an old YouTube video, please give us a thumbs up if you like it. I'm not saying just default to give us a thumbs up. And if you don't like it, you can give us a thumbs down. Tell us why. We can't do better unless we know why we're not performing well. Okay. Opacity, all the standard things, and you can just hit apply. And there we are. But again, it's stuck by the 4 quadrants. So that's the only downside of that one, that it's going to those locations, which may be perfect for what you're doing. But again, only those locations.
There is an XY offset that could be set, and those XYs relate to that initial anchor position. So it does get a little confusing in that light. If you did want it, you know, say in the lower right-hand corner and you wanted it away from the border, you would enter in XY offsets.
Exactly. Next one is inserting a blank page. So what Revu does and what Bluebeam preaches about Revu being as a differentiator, it's less clicks to accomplish things. And that's really going to shine when we're going through and looking at the rest of these. Now, if we want to insert a blank page, you select this and you get to insert from your out-of-the-box templates. So these are just supplied from Revu, these templates, which is a punch list, RFI. You could create your own templates. and then any standard page. Now, custom, you're just deciding what the page heights are going to be and what was this page size. So 36 by 24. So we're going to use the 36 by 24. There it is, arc D. And then the style, again, whatever you'd like to use. If you go out and buy isometric paper, you don't have to. Revu has them, and you can just sketch and review, or any grid paper, or even note paper. We'll just use note paper for this instance. Page count, where are you going to insert it? So this is the most important second part. It is after. So is it going from the last page and it's going after that page, or is it going on the first page up here and after the first page, or before? So you have after or before the insertion. And then you have what page, instead of using the first or last, you can pick what page, and then is it going again before or after that page? You get to select. And sorry, I've watched a couple of our old YouTube videos, and I was like, Mike, why are you staring always to the left? That's because I'm looking at Jason when I talk, because he's the only face I see, and he's over on my left-hand screen. And I apologize for not always staring right here where my camera is, but okay.
It gets tricky sometimes. So before you hit OK here, this is another great use of that snapshot tool, right? Let's say you needed to add another sheet that had a couple details on it. You can totally take that title block, make a template out of it, have a whole sheet ready to go, and you don't even have to touch CAD again.
Yep.
All right. Hit OK here.
So now I have my note paper.
Ooh, I bet that looks really cool on your vertical screen.
Now, the reason why I brought it in as portrait is because we're going to use rotate pages in a little bit. Now, the next one down is going to be insert pages. Now, from the insert pages selection, you get to select what pages you want to bring in from a different PDF set. And I shouldn't say pages, it's whatever documents or pages, because you can bring over the entire document set if you wanted to bring it in. Now, it's going to bring you into the second window once you've hit OK. The second window is the inserting of files, which ones you wanted to bring in. You can add more from here if you'd like. And then, well, let me add a couple so that I can show you, because you're going to reorganize these. Now, from here, these are the order of them being brought in, okay? So this one is going to be first, second, third, all the way down. So these are all going to be brought in that order. And again, down here, which we had in that past window, is where they're going to be brought in to. What's going to be included? So include bookmarks, file attachments, merge properties, use file name as page label, which is great because right now they're being labeled as just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, however many there are. I prefer to do bookmarks first, then relabel my pages, but you can do page labels and then create bookmarks. So it's really just whatever cup of tea you're wanting to enjoy today. I prefer coffee, right? So it's kind of one of those things. Going back into here, though, you can modify any of these selections, like specific pages that you wanted to bring in, custom range versus the single one. Well, that wouldn't really work. But over here, right, we can decide, hey, I want specific range of pages to be brought in from this PDF set. But all righty, now we're going to insert these pages. Where am I going to bring them in? Now, if it was one PDF set and it was a combined PDF set, you would actually be able to interweave, which would mean first, second page that was being. So the first page being brought in would be right after the first page in your document. Second, they're interweaving, right? We all hopefully know what that means. If not, I'll just default and say Google. So first, last page. So you get to decide, hey, it's bringing in the first page after, and it's going to interweave every segmented after or last page, or you're bringing in at a set page number. We'll just bring the first page, well, actually the last page, and we'll go after the last page. And then all of these will be brought in. And hit OK. And here we are. Now, one thing I will show here as well is you can always open up a PDF set and grab pages from here using Control or Shift, however you want to select, right? We'll do Control as well. Copy. So right click using this copy feature and then go to your other set and paste here. So That's another way to insert pages. It's up to you on which one you prefer. But as you see here, there's a little blue line. That is where they're going to be pasted. So just be aware, wherever that line is, location-wise, is where they're going to be brought into of pasting, I guess, or inserting.
So we got a couple good questions. One's from John here. Can you drag and drop files to insert?
I've never done that. So drag. Oh, you mean from like
Explorer, maybe?
Explorer?
Yeah, from Explorer.
I think someone's asked that before and we randomly did it. And I think it was actually Matt. Let me see.
It could have been.
Yeah, you can.
Good.
So it's the same line.
Yep. Good question. And then another good question from David here. You created that sheet number 5 now that has your notebook paper on it. Will it actually, like, if you put lines on it or text, will it allow you to put text right on the lines, or do you have to like manually do it? Oh, look at you being sneaky with your extreme only feature.
I think it's doing all pages.
Yeah, it is.
Fun stuff here as we're looking weird at staring at me as I'm trying to figure out if this is going to work. And it didn't. That's a bummer. I think there's a.
What is like that at the top? There was a text box that says like slam. It's okay. Interesting. Whatever that is. So what he ran was the auto form thingy. Auto form text boxes.
I guess you can make a multi-line text, but
you'd have to figure out the spacing just right. That would be cool though, David, but I don't think it's going to work. Not without some experimentation.
Oh, you can use typewriter, can't you? Well, I forget about that.
It is snapping, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you could use typewriter. Is there a multi? I think there's a multi-text feature setting in here, right?
Is there? I've never seen that. You're telling stories.
Okay, so let's go back and type out here. Maybe if your text height is larger.
Yeah, or if you had a text box, you have control of your spacing. Oh, I suppose you have line space there too. It's set at 1 right now. Bump that up to 1.25.
Where's line space at? Oh,
right there. Does that do anything? There you go. That looks pretty good. 1.2. So yeah, there's a little bit of experimentation you could do.
Yeah, it looks like that would work, right? And then, yeah, for whatever size text you need, you just up your line spacing.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, caps lock. Look at that. Okay.
There's the caps lock on actually showed in the Zoom.
It did?
Yeah. All right. Good little rabbit hole there. Thanks, David. All right. So you've inserted pages. But remember, before you inserted those pages, you had set those scales. So that scale that you set originally did not apply to the new documents that you put in.
Correct. No bueno. But unless it was saved originally, right? So some of these had saved. So when you save a document, the scale gets saved to it. Mm-hmm. So if I were to hit save, I'm not going to. It's going to overwrite my document set here. But okay, back to here. So we had the inserting pages, and I talked about copying them over. Someone asked about drag and drop, and then we went down a rabbit hole about can we type on this page. Next one is extracting pages. This is great if you have a larger PDF set, right? It's large in terms of file size. Things aren't rendering properly. Someone sent you PDF set that has a bunch of vector data. I mean, a bunch of incorrect raster data, which would be like GIFs and GIFs in the viewports, which can still happen in vector data, by the way. But I need to extract them as individual sheet sets. You have extract here, and this will bring out your PDF sets. You can pick, again, your custom range, whatever ones you want to bring over. Your options are to delete pages after extracting. So if I bring these out, am I going to delete them after they've been brought out? And then if I'm going to extract the files as separate, are they going to be maybe named differently, right? Which you probably would have want to rename these first before you extract them out, because then there's going to be 1, 2, 3 if you're going to use the page labels to name the files. If there's already any existing, are you going to open files after extraction? And are you going to update the hyperlinks? So if any hyperlinks were working, meaning they're jumping to a page or to a place or to a space, is my hyperlinks going to work still? Yes. But again, that's on your local network or wherever you're storing it is how they're going to work, because they're going to be going to that file location. And wherever their file location is, it may not work, right? Whereas if they're combined set, they're jumping to in a place or space in that combined set, and that can be transferred. But if they're going to a location, file location, it may not work. But okay, back to here. Right click again, replace pages. So do I need to replace a page with another page? So there's a new revision. Can I go through and do that? Yes, you can. So from here, you can remove pages. You can replace page content only, so the markups stay. That is a new one as well. Not a new one, sorry. I'm showing the new one for me because I forgot about this portion. So if you wanted to bring in that PDF and keep the page content in terms of your markups and change the page out, you could do that. So here are the options for that. You're saying I'm going to replace a specific page in this document set with this page of this document set here. Next one down is deleting pages. We all know what that is, so I'm not going to show that. I wonder if delete on your keyboard works. It does.
So we're getting at the rotate pages one, and this is something that pops up in our support every now and then, and it's something I know I'm guilty of too. But to best illustrate the question that I have, can you change your profile to Review Advanced?
I think it's all
right. Rotate pages versus rotate view. So you're on rotate pages. You can rotate pages and you can rotate view, which can cause you some headaches if you get it wrong.
You can rotate view. What do you mean by that?
You can rotate view. So that on your...
Wow, I've never done this.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is handy for a lot of things, but
wow.
It didn't flip the page. So you can rotate the page or you can rotate the view. So some people see that button on the toolbar in the Review Advanced profile, and they think that they're actually rotating clockwise. But what they're doing is they're rotating either a whole bunch of things or just the view. So, Whoa, rotate pages. They're from the bottom. Look at all those undo things.
How do I go back? It's doing all of them this way. I want to just do this one. That is confusing. So this does all of them versus singular. I just would take these out.
Yep.
But because I usually use this one. I don't ever use these or that view. So this was new to me today.
You got your 2 new ones today. Awesome.
Yes. And that's probably because no one's ever asked to rotate the view. It's just the PDF that's been rotated, right? So going into here, if you want to rotate pages, someone sent you a document set and you have some portrait ones and they're all supposed to be landscape. This is what you would use this tool for. or singular rotation. I prefer the other one. So from here, I don't have to go through my 100-page document set. Some of them are portrait, but they all should be landscape. What I can do here is I can go to rotate pages, and I can tell Review to rotate pages by a specific original orientation. So from here, I can go and say, hey, all portrait pages need to be rotated whatever degree. And it's not rotating the view, like Jason was saying, it's rotating the actual page, right? Okay.
Exactly. John thinks that rotate view is just for the session, so it doesn't save with the PDF. Could be.
I don't know. I'd have to close out a review to do that. So from here, clockwise and hit OK. And now it's rotated all of my portraits as now 90 degrees.
Perfect.
To landscape.
So, great thing to do for document management, because it does come up more than you'd think, especially if you're getting, files from different people that you're compiling.
It's created all of these. That's crazy. My control joints have forms in it now.
Yeah.
All righty. Number pages is next. So if you wanted to number these correctly or in a different manner, you can go through and do that.
We've done a whole video on page labels.
But does page label change down here?
Yes.
It should, right?
Good for plan bingo.
Okay.
B10.
So you have, where was I?
You were on number pages.
Number pages, yes. So we can go through number pages. Rename page labels. So if you want to, so wait, number pages is different than page label then, right?
Yes. Because numbers are numbers, page labels are labels. So if you wanted to call
but where
them
does the
site
numbering
plans or
go?
details, if you wanted it to be prefixed, maybe. So that EX1 shows that was sheet 3. Does the number pages put an image on the page? No, it does not. However, you can make it do that with headers and footers.
See, it didn't, I have nowhere to see the page number now. So what's the point of having page number? If it's not named, then it gets the number, maybe? See, this says EX1. I guess, can I do all? Hold on.
Reset all page labels.
Selected all.
And you had it start at 4. So now
So
everything
it is changing label. So the number is the label. That's confusing.
Page numbering and labeling. Look at that.
So I guess if you want to number them as their page label, that's what you would do. And then if you wanted to page label them by the naming of them or something, you could do that as well. And that's right here, create page labels. Let me close out of this set that has all these inserted items in it and reopen it. You could go down to the bottom right of your title block, whatever data you want to grab. Bookmarks would be the same way. You would grab a page region and you say, hey, go look for that data that you want. Add a secondary one.
That's favorite tricks. It's so handy.
Yep.
Underutilized, certainly by me. And I haven't seen a whole lot of folks other use this too, but it's just so easy. You harness the power of those vector text objects inside of your PDF and make it do all the work for you.
Yeah, then you don't have to go through and do it yourself. Okay. Right click. Reset. Okay. Export pages. So we know that Review can export the PDFs out as a different extension, like a TIFF, a JPEG, PNG, Word, Excel. Now I get this question a lot, and I guess not a lot. It was, most recently, it was a lot because people and what they do for their profession. But if you're exporting out to Microsoft Word, and people like to compare apples to apples for different exports of software, they're going to have the same type of issue when exporting out or running an OCR. So if I received a raster PDF, so let me give you a full explanation. If I receive a raster PDF, someone sent me a raster PDF, they scanned a Word document or it looks like a Word document, right? We're talking about like a spec doc. They scanned it, they sent it to me, and I want that to be in Word as well. It all comes down to how the DPI was written on that PDF set. Any export software solution, if you're running the optical character recognition, which is extreme only in Revu, and I think it's an extreme version only in a different type of software provider, but you can ask me about that if you want. It's going to only get you as much as it can from the OCR if it's raster versus vector, and that raster DPI is going to be a key player in that. Then you also have to think about, okay, if I export it out to Word, is Microsoft Word going to interpret the coded data correctly, right? Because was it originally even created in Word? So it really comes down to that last point of export out to that software solution.
And the fonts used too. So not just the DPI, but the font. So if you're using like a Windows TrueType font or something like Arial or something, not Gothic script or Wingdings or whatever, your chances are, if it's normal looking, you'll have better success with that.
Yeah, handwritten notes don't work.
Right. Unless you got really good handwriting. But even then. So David's got a really good comment here that I've never even tried, and I'm curious to know if you have. So he says, exporting to Word works well with tables. So you copy a table from Word to Excel. Because if you go right to Excel, which this can do, it adds too many columns. Never tried it. I don't deal with tables a whole lot in Word. Actually, I do, and I hate that. I'm not a fan.
So if I bring this out to Word instead.
Okay. Works well with quotes. Exporting to PowerPoint auto flattens the file. That's a good tip there. Thanks, Dave.
And then it's still giving me some of the messed up stuff because this is what I see in Excel anyways.
Yeah,
I guess it's
didn't know what to do with those drop-down boxes and just gave you
T's and dashes and stuff.
But look at your layer. You've got whatever that was for your conduit.
And here, so this is what happens when it's not understanding the data. Oh, I don't know where that image went. It makes it an image. See that? That's an image right here. I can't click it. In Excel, you're able to click the image. From here, you can't. It's an entire image right there.
Yeah. Dealing with tables in Excel is easier than tables in Word. Absolutely. But
there's
probably some more tricks here.
So now you know there's the images. Layer's still an image too. Boom.
It looks like it got some of the sizes weird for your fonts for like conduit and curtain panels. Maybe it's just an optical illusion, but those fonts look like a different size or width. So David says, copy that table and paste it into Excel.
Export to Excel, or
just copy paste it. Can you like that? Curious to see what's going to happen here. Grab the grip and the up. Oh, I would have done it too.
What? This?
Nothing. Nope, just paste it. You're fine. Sure.
And this is a good old thing that Matt showed me. I was like, I wonder if Matt knew that the columns list or the markups list was following the same as Excel. So if you double click these, it does the same thing.
Interesting. So yeah, it looks like it fixed some of that stuff. And yeah, you only got the couple columns. That's an interesting thing to check, David. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay. Back in here. Next one is email pages. Now, this is great because I always love to show people this, because currently some people's workflow, which is great, is they go to they go to Outlook, start the email chain, then they do a file attachment, look for the file attachment. But if you've already edited it, you're starting to redline and then you're saving as, don't leave review. You can email from review. So right here, this document, I've marked it up and I'm ready to send it to the designer, right? The engineer going through and marking up, correcting things, then sending it back to the designer or the lead, whatever position you want to call it. And then they go into here and they email it to them usually, right? Or hopefully they're not printing it out and walking it down and handing it to them. But from here, I can email directly. And what this does, it brings up your default email provider. This one is Outlook. It already gives it a subject and it already attaches the file. And then I just have to say who it's sending it to.
Oh, no, wait. Let's remember one thing here. It remembers to attach the file, because I know we're all guilty of it. Sending the email, here's the markups, and then you forget the attachments. I mean, if there's anybody on this call who's never done that, you're lying. So this this helps for sure.
Yes. But if you write attach to an Outlook, it says, hey, you should attach something.
Mm-hmm.
The other email is also up here. I don't think, there's no email from template, but file email from templates. I've created one of these. And basically what these are is you're already having who it's going to be assigned email to. So you don't even have, and I'm even saying here, so watch what'll happen here is if I'm going to email this from the template, I already have context. Hey, pick up the red lines and who it's sending it to, right? So all I have to do is click this and boom, who's it sending it to? It's already attached and already has my comment below. So it's something I do all the time and send it to this particular person. I'm done. Don't have to add extra steps. It's already here, one and done. Okay. Print pages, we don't need to go through and print. Repair PDF. So if there are some issues with the good old PDF that you've been sent, you can run a repair on it to make sure things are being corrected appropriately. You can go through here. You can process wipeouts, tasks, text masks. You have first, so you have all of these options to go through, and I haven't done this one. Yeah, everything else I've done. But you can go through and repair your doc from this point. Next one is Flatten, good old Flatten. So from here, we have the ability to go through and flatten our our markups, and flattening them. I like to use the analogy of the good old iron-on. So I used to, I guess I would say used to because I don't play soccer anymore. But I played soccer a lot when I was younger, and we used to create our custom t-shirts with iron-on, right? Now you can print out or go and buy an affordable like t-shirt printing machine nowadays. But back in the day, we'd print out these iron-ons, right, from our computer. Then we'd iron them onto our t-shirts. It's kind of like that. It becomes part of the PDF. Ironing it onto your t-shirt becomes part of the t-shirt, unless you're washing it all the time, it starts to peel off. But that won't happen here. What will happen, though, is you allow yourself to unflatten the data later. That way, so unflatten means you can go back and right-click under document management or under document, right-click and unflatten, meaning bring those markups back up for the ability to manipulate. But if you wanted to send one without that ability, right, hey, I want to just send these markups so people can't change them anyways, you could save out a second one that's for share or something, right, however you want to end the extension, and just don't check this, right, because you're going to flatten all of them. They'll become part of the PDF set. Then you don't have to worry about people moving them around, or, there's a one-off people that like to say that there wasn't a red line there or something because they missed it themselves. So they're making an excuse. Those are your options. So from here, you have your options of what type of markups are going to be flattened. Then you have exclude flattened markups that were already there, currently selected markups. Maybe you selected specific markups from your markups lists. Allow that markup recovery is what we talked about. Flatten to a layer. That's actually pretty cool. I haven't used this before, but you can actually flatten to a whole layer. That's awesome. That could be definitely heavily utilized here. And then show properties in a pop-up, flatten capture media as an attachment. So you can attach your capture media to markups, right?
So David likes to save a live file before flattening it that I'm sharing. So instead of having to rely on the unflatten function, save both. So maybe just append one with flattened or whatever else, so you know which one to send out.
Yeah, I guess that's so. Yeah, I don't know. I was probably doing mine backwards, where I was saying, just hey, yeah, you have one that you can. You just save one of these as a different one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so again, this can be done with multiple PDF sets. They don't have to be open, or the current one. If you have multiple ones that you're trying to accomplish this task with, you can go through and add them from here. And if you have a selection that you want to save for this is saved as a .bcx file, which is your batch selection here. This is not for these settings down here. All righty.
All right, you got about 4 minutes left. Can you make it all the way through?
Yeah, just markup summaries last. So markup summary is what is here. We covered markups list last week. So we'll open the floor for questions, even though it's always open for questions. If there's someone that was waiting, we have time for some questions. The other one is, if there are no questions, we're not going to get into studio because it's going to be too much to cover in one area. We may have to continue part 4. Not next week, unfortunately, because next week we have a surprise for everyone, which is opening the floor for special questions for things that are going to be released in the near future here. So we are basically like telling the future here. Yeah.
Let's just say you don't want to miss next Tuesday.
Yes, you don't want to miss.
It's going to be pretty important. We're going to have a special guest and everything. Someone that hasn't been on before. We're really excited for that. So it's going to be pretty interesting for sure. So definitely not want to be missed.
I would agree. And so that's what we'll be covering, because I didn't realize, and I think Jason didn't realize, it was a 2-part series originally, and a 3-part, and now it's a 4-part series. We apologize.
Not really, because you made it through the basics, right? And this is what we're all about. If you're starting with review, what do you do with it? And now we've got you through everything that you need to know if you were coming from Adobe or Nitro or Foxit, right? We've covered all of those basics that appear, well, not all of the basics, because there's obviously a lot more here in review than anything else, but there's more things going on inside of review. But now you're at a level playing field. When we're going to add on Studio as a part 4, but Studio doesn't exist anywhere else. So maybe this is the proper ending for our beginner series. And then we'll just cover Studio again on its own, because it's more interesting that way.
And I think it kind of ties in, because after we talk about what we're going to talk about next week, we could tie it into talking about Studio and, those things.
A part 5 trilogy. Doug, I like that. I know it's not proper English, but can we have the copyright on that, or trademark? We'll give you credit. A 5-part trilogy. Anyway, we're about wrapping up for today. So again, thank you everybody for coming in. I see new names. I see familiar names in the participants list, and that always makes me happy. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next Tuesday, February 8th. Don't miss that one. It's going to be important and special. Thank you all for your questions, your participation. Thank you, DJ CJ. Thank you, ATG. Thank you, Matt Lynn. Thank you, Michael.
And is that passing it to me? I can't add anything more than that, except thanks everyone. And we will see you all next week. Please do not miss. This is very important info that everyone needs to know about if you have a license of review. So that's our little teaser. I'm going to leave it off on that. And we look forward to seeing you all next week, February 8th.
See you, everybody.